Hello, and welcome to the Tucker and Crowley Report. Franklin Tucker, senior editor of the Belmontonian, is with me again today, and I'm Mike Crowley. So first, I want to mention I want to remind the viewers that any viewpoints, opinions, and comments expressed on this program are solely those of myself and Franklin Tucker, and do not represent the views of Belmont Media Center, the town of Belmont, uh, Comcast, or Verizon. Okay, so first up in the news, Franklin, we have the Hill Estates. What is happening?
Well, the Hill Estates are, let's first say what the Hill Estates are, and they're about 400 units of a very rare commodity in this area, and that is a affordable market rate apartments, and they're on Brighton Street, Brighton Ave, and
This is rental housing.
That's
Franklin,
right. That's right. They're all rental. There's no ownership involved with this.
Mhm.
It's been owned by the Di Giovanni's family since they built it in the mid to late 60s. These are, and what I should say now is that it's for sale.
Okay.
And it's something that is causing a lot of it. People are looking at this intentively. It is something that we don't see a lot, and that is an established, well-run apartments that are for sale. There's only a few buyers who could buy something like that. That's large real estate investment trusts. The broker who's doing this is a national firm, I should say. They're right up front with what they think owners would get from this, and that is if you do some renovation on it, and it doesn't need a lot of renovation. It's the outside and the interior of these apartments and the townhouses is kind of rough a little bit because they're 40, 50, or almost 60 years old, but it's been very well maintained.
It looks in pretty good shape.
Yeah. What they say is that it's undervalued for the market because right now units are going for on average like $2,200 a month, which is still outrageous. But if you look at market rate apartments in Belmont, they're at 38.
So Franklin, I want to ask you: is there a risk in a potential sale of loss of affordable housing, or that the complex is torn down completely and something else comes in its place?
I can't see anybody trying to tear that down. I mean, just think of the zoning and the the zoning board of appeals, like that. But that process would be like, and these are established units. I mean, you just need to go in, do some renovation, and now you're picking up market rates as if you built it yourself. So they're looking at rates, as the realtor says, as the broker said, you can get rates up to what market is, and that's you can but that's what is going to really affect who will be in there.
So well above what the residents are currently paying, and frankly, this could pose a hardship for many.
That's right. I mean, there's the Hill Estates are bordered by a Little Pond and Little River, and it's on the commuter rail line. Right across the Little River is Royal Belmont, and those so-called new apartments are going for like $3,940 and $4,000 a month, and it's just separated by that little river.
So I want to ask you, Franklin, is there anything that the town can do to apart from zoning, or perhaps even within the constraints of zoning, to guide what takes place on the property?
The housing trust is a great resource, and you have to remember that when McLean Hospital was going to build the second residential area on Parcel 2 just a few years ago, McLean actually increased the amount of affordable housing in those units
Okay.
through the work of the housing trust. So the housing trust could have some say, but it would be limited to making a percentage of the units. So let's say of the 400 units, well, it's like 388. 20% affordable. But that's still
That's
that means
still risks dispossession.
and the people who live there, there's a lot of older folks who've sold their modest house in
Mhm.
Belmont, and they can't really afford one of the very expensive retirement communities around this area. But this is a great place, and as one realtor said, this is a great value for people who aren't looking for upscale housing. It really is.
We have retirees, including Belmont town retirees.
Very much so. And
it's a very diverse community of residents.
That's right. It's a lot of first time Americans, and there's a lot of students there also. It's right next to you can get to MIT and Harvard in a snap because you're near Alewife. But it really is something that as one person said, on Sunday, you can smell the world through everybody's kitchen what they're making, and you may lose it. You probably will lose that if it becomes a more of a market rate venture.
Sounds unfortunate. We'll have to see what happens. All right. So Franklin, next up. So I understand that McLean plans to build a school. What can you tell us about this?
There's been a school there for a while, and it's basically for adolescent, for children and adolescents. It's a school. It's also so what they want to build is a new structure there. They're not going to tear down the old one. They're going to build a new one. It's going to be the total cost. There'll be one section that will be like dormitories, be 88 beds. It'll be a 24/7 kind of environment, and it'll have about 200 students all together.
Okay.
On weekdays. So it's gonna cost $25 million to build, which has all been paid for. We've fundraised all the amount of money, and as the McLean official said at the planning board, we're ready to go. And this will take about 24 to 32 months to build. What they want to do is, build it. They're going to build it at the same time that parcel 2 is being built. So you're going to get parcel 4, I should say, and parcel 3, the residentials, and this school will be built around the same time. Now, I know that some people are like, oh, isn't this, why are you doing it at the same time? It's just, we already have these issues with traffic, especially from people who already live in McLean, in the McLean complex.
So there are concerns about
just
disruption
and everything. And but they said, it just makes a lot of sense for them, McLean, to build them both at the same time, because it's just you have one tractor and you don't have to bring another tractor in, things like that. You bring in supplies one for both of them. So it's a school that has been around for a while. It does graduate kids from high school. Its most famous alumnus is James Taylor, the folk singer, and he said that was the best school he's ever been to.
Okay,
really cool. I like that.
All right, so
James Taylor is a Belmont high school graduate, just not a Belmont high school graduate.
Okay. Anything else to say about what McLean is doing, Franklin?
Well, as part of their plan, they also have one more parcel 5, but they haven't decided anything to do with that.
Okay.
So this is just something that we've already known. This is not a surprise, and I think this will have easy going within the planning board, simply because the McLean has been talking to town officials for a while about this.
Okay, so Franklin, up next, we're going to be talking about the Belmont Center Overlay District.
That's right.
What can you tell us?
Well, if you are online or if you attend these meetings, Well, what's happening is that the town, the planning board wants to put an overlay district, which means you overlay this new zoning on top of the existing zoning.
Mm-hmm.
And what this allows things to do is you don't have to change every zoning parcel in the city, in the town. You just do the parcels in this one specific area. And what the planning board is attempting to do is make it more business friendly. Let's see what we can do in terms of height. What can be built in this area. We're talking about everywhere from, let's say, the Belmont Cafe. Over further down. They're not looking to knock down any buildings, but they're just looking to like make it a business friendly area in that area where Bank of America used to have a branch.
Although I like that building, to tell you, it's interesting.
Brutalist.
Yeah.
But what's happening is that what's causing concern, especially among the neighbors, is that unlike Brighton, unlike Brighton, which is the other part of this movement. Basically, the last of the ARPA funds are being used to do this, do these two overlay districts. Is that they want to have this before town meeting in May. This is very, we're not talking about something that you can just lay something on. An overlay district should take time, and the planning board and the town have established. They did have like a planning session for interested people. And they have an idea.
There are more meetings planned.
But what's so far is that a lot of people, not just neighbors, but a lot of people, they're saying that they weren't informed about this. They haven't had any real input into what they would like to see there. Neighbors don't want to see a 6-story building, next to them. Some people also want to know about traffic or even doing a more holistic thing for Belmont Center. But they're saying they're just not being heard because, there's this rush, and that's what they call it, a rush to have this before town meeting, and in May. And what some people are saying is, what's the rush? If Brighton is going to go to a special town meeting in November, and then because they're going to take their time, basically doing the another, possible 250 unit placement over there. So there's people are just a little nervous about this, and they're basically, like I said, they're saying, what's the rush?
All right, Franklin. So I do want to ask a couple of questions. So are we far enough along in the process that we have a sense of what the height limitations are that are contemplated by the planning board as they're thinking about the overlay district?
I think what they will do is they'll make an analysis, as they should, and find out what would be profitable for what would make somebody come in here and build at that location. So it has to be profitable for them. It has to, so you have to think about height and bulk and everything else, so they can generate the money to build there. That is something that it hasn't come out to what it hasn't gone that far. We just know what they've come out, and they've had a charrette, basically. It's a design plan, and people are coming around saying, oh, we don't want to have a supermarket there, but we don't want just housing. We want a mix.
So mixed use is contemplated. So we could see potentially, depending on what's decided, taller buildings that include some
Starbucks.
Retail. Some people would like to see Starbucks come back, but some businesses, ground floor, perhaps higher as well, but we'd also have some residential as well.
Right. I think that was the plan. That's what they want to see, because you're in a business district. You don't want this just to be a housing block. You do want to have that vibrancy of having something that's open past 8 o'clock in Belmont.
So the big parking lot
over in Clafton.
Is that part of the overlay district?
No, it's not.
Okay, so that's not that. no changes to uses are contemplated for that space.
No, that's the only parking that you have in Belmont Center. Really, that's the
Yeah,
only,
yeah.
and it's also where you have activities, most prominently farmers market.
Yeah.
And it's been very successful. And I don't think anybody wants to see a change there.
All right, Franklin. Anything else to say about that?
No.
All right. So let's move on. And here's something that, frankly, a lot of people are concerned about right now, and that's the seeming chaos in Washington, D.C. How does that affect Belmont?
Belmont does receive both in the town and for the schools. They do receive grants. Just to how much that is and how much they're looking to do, that is something that's still up in the air. The budget is in its preliminary stages right now. We don't have a final budget that will come out in March. But it's now something that they have to, anybody who's doing a budget has to consider. And just remember that Belmont is not a town that has a lot of money that's just floating around in free cash. It really doesn't. And so if you see any kind of reduction, let's say the Department of Education is the same way, if it's done, if it's pushed, if it's just basically destroyed, as we saw with already some departments in Washington D.C., you may lose those grants, or those grants are delayed by years. And it won't cause like this massive chaos because we don't have a lot of those funds. Title One for education, we really don't have that much. We're not a designated poor district. We get a lot of Title One money. But these we do get funds. It helps out.
And at the margins, all of this funding actually does become very important. Let me ask you about, Franklin, DEI, which is a big controversy with the new presidential administration.
It causes air crashes.
Yeah, apparently. So and also it's being discussed widely on social media.
That's right.
What should happen in Belmont schools? What can you tell us about this, Franklin?
The schools are going forward. They are looking at. They have a candidate which they want to bring in. They're not moving back from hiring somebody to do DEI.
This is a replacement of the person who was previously in the position and left the district.
That's left the district for another position.
Yeah,
it wasn't that she was fired or anything like that. They're just the town is just going forward with what they've stated they were going to do. There are a few people out in town, who question that because of what's happening around the country. There's some people who question it because they don't want to see Belmont being targeted or anything like that. But there are some who say, this is the way the country is moving. We should just do away with this position. But I think the schools have made a commitment, and they've made it with people in town, and so I don't see it change. Might come up at a school board, a school committee meeting, but other than somebody trying to do something at town meeting, such as take away the funds during the budget process, I don't see this as changing.
Okay.
And I think it's. And the schools have also stated that they are going to follow their policies when it comes to any kind of looking into people's racial and national status here.
I do want to ask you, Franklin, when it comes down to any potential Trump administration prohibitions on the use of federal funding for districts that have so-called DEI programs. Do you see any potential change in what Belmont may do?
I don't think there will be, and I think because what we're looking at is DEI in the federal. The Trump administration is seeking to rid all federal offices.
But Franklin, not just federal. There has been talk of in the administration and public talk about eliminating DEI programs in schools and corporations.
I
And
think they've got bigger fish. You know, if they're going to look at DEI, they're going to be looking at colleges and universities rather than high schools.
all right, well,
I don't think they're going to go to that level
yeah, we've already seen
until the new
we've
core
already
of FBI agents come
yeah,
around.
oh yeah. So we've already seen some universities concerned about their federal funding, either eliminating DEI programs or at least scrubbing their websites.
Changing names, you know, making things like that. I think that
Northeastern has either changed names or simply scrubbed the website. It's not clear to me.
I wonder if that has anything to do with that 19-year-old Northeastern graduate who is part of Elon Musk's team that's destroying the U.S.
And who will go unnamed because we don't want to be sued or prosecuted by the federal government, as there are apparently some threats to do.
Yeah, the attorney, what was the attorney from Maryland? Attorney General from Maryland or something like that. Yeah, we won't name him. Although you have just Google.
Okay, so speaking of chaos in Washington, I just want to throw out real quick. Any updates on any of the races in Belmont? For example, school committee. It was uncertain for a while who was running.
That's right. Your former colleague,
Jeff Liberty.
No.
Amy Checkaway.
Amy Checkaway has stated she's not running. She spent her 2 years in service, so there are 2 terms in service.
6 years.
6 years. Those are 2 terms in service. So that's
Amy's a real trooper.
She is a wonderful addition. She always had something very well to say, very well thought out remarks. You know, she's in education also at Leslie. There is Liberty, Mr. Liberty, Jeff Liberty has put in his papers and he's running for re-election. We do have a new person in town, and his name is Michael Todd Thompson. Sorry. And he's an MIT grad. I don't know a lot about him, but he's also looking to run for, I think it's the Board of Health.
So will he in fact run for both?
You can run for both.
Okay.
There's nothing that prevents you from doing that. So
and maybe if you have your name on the ballot twice, you'll get something.
Yeah, right, exactly. but you know, there's if there's no one else to move to run.
Now, I have heard some discussion of another potential name. I don't know whether I should mention it. I've heard people are trying to talk him into running, but I'm not going to mention his name if there's
as long as he's not picking up papers, it's just a rumor. So,
yeah. Okay.
No, but it's still interesting to see that we'll have a select board. There'll be a good race for select board. 2 very young residents, and we talked about Taylor Yates, who's on the who's on the planning board.
And people are already speaking of the confusion that will ensue if we had 2 Taylors,
I know.
a Matt Taylor and a Taylor Yates on the select board.
Although, we'll decide on that. We'll also have a race for the trustees for the public library.
Okay.
Tara Donner.
Because frankly, because I did mention Taylor Yates, we want to be sure to mention Paul Joy, who also is running for the select board.
He's I think many people know that Mr. Joy was the person who brought the citizen petition to change the select board from 3 to 5. Didn't go anywhere.
So for disclosure, I was one of the citizen signers.
Right. So let's go back to the trustees for the public library. Tara Donner, who served 1 term at the school board, school committee, is running against 2 incumbents. So this is 1 incumbent, I should say. And
so is that a competitive race? Or?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Because, so she's running against an incumbent for 1 open seat.
There's 2 seats.
Okay.
1 incumbent, and 3 are running.
Okay, I got you. So it will be a competitive race.
Yes, and it's always fun to have a competitive library race.
And Board of Health, how does that look?
Board of Health, well, if Michael Todd Thompson, and he would then meet Julie LeMay, who's been, I
Yeah.
believe, this will be her third term.
Okay, so
I'll
an
have to look
incumbent
that up.
competing against a non-incumbent.
That's right. And just a quick look at the town meeting. It looks like most of the precincts have a full slate, with the exception of precinct 3,
Okay,
which has 6 openings. That's
all right.
that's a lot.
So
And
for the
also,
precincts, Franklin, where we have a full slate, so I make a distinction between full slate and competition.
right,
Do we have, so last year in some of the precincts, we
Right.
had just enough people running to fill the number of seats.
well, that's 12. Yeah.
Yeah. So do we have enough to ensure that there is some competition and that voters might have a choice in some of these?
No.
Okay, all right.
We may have to we may actually have some seats that are picked up by
So-
sign-ins.
All right. So,
Yeah,
but as last year, for some people, if you got your name on the ballot for town meeting member, you're all but elected
That's
at
right.
this point.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're thinking about running for town meeting member or any other office,
Do it now.
do it now. Stop by the town clerk's office and pick up signature papers. And you have to have your signatures for a townwide office. That is 50, best to get at least 10 more than that. And for a town meeting member's position, you need at least 25 valid signatures of voters in your precinct. And it's always best to shoot for
30.
another 5 to 7 beyond that to ensure that they're all valid when they are validated by the town clerk. And the deadline to get those papers in is February 11th at 5 p.m. So it's coming up soon.
Real soon. 5 days.
All right. So a quick sports update, Franklin.
Very quick. Girls hockey remains undefeated. They did tie a very tough Reading team in Reading, 3-3. So they're still undefeated, and I believe that they are 8th in the statewide rankings, power rankings, I should say. Boys hockey, they are going to be going for the Ed Burns Coffee Cup. It's an annual tournament in Arlington, and they will be meeting Arlington on Sunday if the snow doesn't
Okay,
get
because
too
we have a
deep.
big storm coming in this weekend.
That's right. So it'll be at 1 o'clock, and you can go up to Lowell, see in the Songus Arena, see that, and then come down and pick up some wings and watch the Super Bowl. So that will be on Sunday. And they are also 8th in the state in the power rankings. Girls basketball is doing real well, 12-5. They are moving on. They will certainly be in the playoffs this year. And one other thing, and that is boys swimming. They won the Middlesex League championship this past week.
All right, Franklin, thank you. And as always, you can find more of Franklin's reporting at belmontonian.com. So ordinarily, I'd say be sure to tune in next time. I won't be here for a while.
What?
Franklin may be, we'll have to see. But until then, take care and enjoy the snow.